Happy Tinny Talk! Welcome back to the podcast. I have an exciting guest, and his name is Mitchell Hooper. Hi.
We'll see how exciting I am. Based on the number of notes, I
have done my research on you, Mitchell Hooper.
I look forward to knowing what you know.
I know it all. I know everything. Okay, welcome. Let's clink.
Thank you.
Clink.
Yeah, I'm sorry, off-brand, but bottled talk.
But that's okay because, we're saving the caffeine intake till later. Because what are you doing today, Mitchell?
Yeah, we're in London for Giants Live Strongman Classic at Royal Albert Hall. And my first competition to be announced as the world's strongest man.
Oh!
Which I'm really excited. Yeah, that's really cool.
That is so cool. And you were just telling me that you have a lot of people coming to see you.
Yeah.
So it's quite special competition.
It is, and I said to my sister, who it's her first time seeing me compete, I said to her, there's two groups of people. There's the group who will watch me compete before I have won World's Strongest Man, and the people who will watch me after I've won World's Strongest Man. So it's lovely that they're here, but I also say, Cassie, if I didn't win World's Strongest Man, then you wouldn't be here.
Oh, that's so exciting though. It's nice to have people. So we're going to tell you actually, when I met you at the Arnold's, the UK Pro Show, do you remember helping me in my deadlift suit?
Yeah, of course.
Do you need a hand? I was like, yes, please. Nobody else is helping me. Anyway, so when you were up competing, when you were on the stage, everyone was making a noise that they make for you. They were going, moo. Mm-hmm. And I was furious because I thought they were booing you.
Yeah.
I was absolutely furious. I was like, how could they do that? That's so mean. And I actually said to them, you really shouldn't boo, that's really rude. And they're like, we're mooing.
Yeah.
So what, obviously you're called Moose.
Yeah.
But why the mooing noise? Because of Moose or what?
Yeah, I don't know if it's Moose or if it's Hooper or if there's a portion of people don't like me or there's a healthy combination of all three. But it started did you watch the show, the Deadlift World Champs last year?
Yes.
So were you there?
No.
Okay. I don't know if it would have been on the live stream or not, but that's when it sort of started.
Okay.
And I knew it was happening. And after I won an event, I was getting interviewed. I was in the lead at like 4 points at this stage. And I said, guys, look, I know I'm not from here, but I'm part of the Commonwealth. If you wouldn't, please stop booing me. I'm trying my best. And then a lot of people didn't know I was joking, but that sort of fueled the fire for it to happen. I reckon later today it's going to be pretty loud. Pretty loud mooing, booing, whatever. Genuinely, I think there's a good chunk of people who know what they're doing, and it's Mooses and Hoopers. And then I think there's another chunk of people who don't know what's going on and just assume that I'm the villain, and so they'll boo alongside. But you don't know; it just gets louder, and why not?
Well, I was furious, and even one of my friends was there watching me, and even she said she was shouting at people, that's just not nice. He's actually really nice. And, but it turns out they weren't booing you. The people that we'd spoke to were mooing you.
Yes.
But yeah, it was quite confusing, actually. Okay, Mitchell, I never like to start a podcast with, tell me a bit about yourself, because it's boring.
Sure.
But I would like to know a fun fact that maybe nobody knows about you. Have you got one? Because I know you're pretty open with things. But is there something that maybe people don't know about Mitchell Hooper?
I mean, a lot of people probably don't know that I can do a Rubik's Cube.
Yes, well, I've witnessed that twice already in 20 minutes.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's very surface level. In terms of things a bit below the surface, it's nothing that people don't know, nothing that I haven't said, but I think I've sort of stumbled my way to winning World's Strongest Man. It was not a dream as a child. Winning is not my ultimate goal. It's not my ultimate purpose. It's just it fuels the fire of what could be.
Yeah.
And so I think that would surprise a lot of people that competition results are not my primary goal.
Okay. And what is the primary goal? What is your big purpose and goal then?
Well, I think in life we need goals that can't be achieved, because I think if you have a big goal and you tick that off, there's nothing left.
Yeah.
And so if my goal for my life was to win World's Strongest Man, and that was my primary focus, say for a decade, I win it. What are you getting out of bed the next morning for?
Yeah.
And generally speaking, my goal is to impact as many people by 1 to 2 degrees as possible. Just change the trajectory a small amount. Hopefully they can live a better life. And at the moment, that has a lot to do with physical health and well-being. That very well could pivot to mental health and well-being, could pivot into many different things, but it's growing a platform to be able to help impact people and help people live better lives in any way. And I can't really put a exact description to that of what it'll be in 10 years time.
Yeah.
But for right now, my goal is whoever's watching, just get out and move a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, there's a awesome, I don't know how true it is, but I'm a physical therapist by trade.
Yeah.
There's an awesome little anecdote of someone who exercises and smokes will live longer than someone who doesn't exercise and doesn't smoke. Someone who's obese and exercises will live longer than someone who's a healthy weight person who is not exercising. I don't know how true that actually is, but it certainly tends to the point where if you want to look at it in a public health sense, in a independent sense, in a economic sense, we're just going to run into so many issues with so many people being unwell.
Yeah.
And I don't know the statistics in the UK, but in Canada since 2003, we've added 3 years to life expectancy for both men and women, and we've actually not changed health adjusted life expectancy at all. And when you talk to these people who have lost their health span, they don't want to be alive. They would prefer not to wake up, but you really don't have a choice.
Yeah.
And the reason they don't want to is because they don't have their friends and family around, and they don't have the ability to do what they want to do. They can't go to the shop. So to me, it's really important and say, okay, it might be funny that I'm 27, you're a young woman, and I'm talking about when you're elderly, but the best time to prevent osteoporosis as a woman is by doing impact training when you're 14 to 17.
Yeah.
So there's really no earlier time to start. And it's really a beautiful serendipitous endeavor that Strongman is fundamental movement patterns of life, and that's really my big purpose.
Yeah.
So whoever you are, going, if I can push, pull, squat, hinge, overhead press, and carry, then I'm going to be in a pretty good position to live a long, healthy life.
I just love that, Mitchell. You're so passionate about it, and I love that because I am the same. Like my passion is to have people fit and healthy, and obviously I'm a coach, a personal trainer, I have a gym, so I'm teaching people about the physical side, but I also really believe that mental health needs physical support. You know, to be mentally well, your body needs to be well as well. So I always push that to my clients that, you know, I do a lot of stuff with the mindset and things with them, but I'm like, we need to have that physical support. You need that ability to look after yourself to be mentally well as well. So
yeah, and I was on a podcast a week ago in Vegas with Flex Lewis and talked a little bit about mental health and stuff I haven't talked about before. But I think there's something so powerful about being able to have the worst mental health day, really struggling. And for people who have been in those situations, you can convince yourself of basically anything.
Yeah.
Of people don't want me around, people don't want to hear from me, so on and so on. There's no way you can convince yourself, I haven't objectively improved. I'm objectively stronger than I was a month ago.
Yeah.
Than last year. And there's something just so fundamentally valuable about that. Mm-hmm. And for me, whether that was marathon running, whether that's strength training, whether that was golf scores, if you can find some way that you're objectively improving your life, I think that's a pillar of improving your mental health.
100%. I always say performance goals. Set a performance goal because, like you said, that you're either improving or you're not. And if you're not having a good day and you go to the gym and you've improved, no matter what's happened, you're going to feel better. And that's going to have a knock-on effect again and again. So I completely agree with that. So going back to what you just said about all the sports that you've done a lot of sports. You've done rugby, golf, swimming, running, bodybuilding. Out of that list, is there any more, apart from Strongman? Have I forgotten any? It's endless.
Literally everything but cricket.
Oh.
I've played basketball, volleyball.
Competitively on all these things? Oh,
yeah.
wow.
American football, hockey, ice hockey. Yeah.
That's amazing.
A
So
lot of everything.
out of that list, what was your favourite? Not Strongman. Out of the rest of them, what did you love the most?
Golf.
You're very good. I've watched some of your golfing.
Have you?
Yes.
Yeah, golf is probably still my favorite sport, and unfortunately something that I can't do very much of anymore.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just it's so peaceful. I think it's one of the best ways to get to know someone if you're 4 hours out on the course with something in the background to talk about. But when else would you be able to spend that much time with someone, whether it's a family member, a stranger, anything? And so, it's amazing when in golf, in strongman, you try harder, you do better.
Yeah.
In golf, you try harder, you do worse.
Okay.
And it's almost like this just constant check. You got to stay very calm. You got to just take it as it comes. And it's quite a cathartic sport.
Yeah. So is that why you enjoy it the most, I think, because it is peaceful? Because you said it was peaceful. Do you think that's why it's one of your favourite ones? Because you've obviously got quite a busy lifestyle. Do you think that was a time that you felt peaceful and that's why you like it the most? Or is it just that you just like it the most?
I don't know. It could be. Could be. I haven't put it in that context, but it doesn't sound incorrect on the surface. Yeah.
Because I think when you feel at peace, that's it's quite rare nowadays because we're so busy.
Yeah.
And everything's social media and all these. So to be peaceful, like you said, and actually be able to spend that time with people is quite rare.
Yeah.
So maybe that is a reason.
Yeah, could be. And I think like that's such a big part of my childhood. It's almost just it's a comfortable place to be. It's probably, if you told me you need to have a business meeting, a first date, a challenging conversation, all of those I think I would be most comfortable having on the golf course.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's where you feel comfortable.
I suppose.
So with all the sports and things that you've done, I know that you said in one of your YouTube episodes that the bodybuilding was extremely hard.
Yeah.
Mentally, or because obviously it's very hard on the body, losing that amount of fat. Was it mentally a challenge?
Yeah. And mentally a challenge in a lot of ways. Obviously, I think restricting yourself from one of the fundamental, it's the bottom of Maslow's hierarchy, food, water, shelter. And restricting food is, I think, the hardest thing that one can do to themselves. But mentally, it's a lot of things you can't control in terms of how good you are at bodybuilding. It's the size of your joints and where your muscles insert and all of that. And it's just a constant aesthetic comparison to other people, which goes without saying that can only lead to negative mental health consequences. I think there's people who do bodybuilding and do it as a sport, and they truly see it that way. I couldn't do that. I was thinking about myself relative to others. I was a day from competing and 4%, 5% body fat, whatever, shredded, and I still thought that I could lose some weight. I'm still a bit overweight.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was the wrong thing. I don't think many guys talk about like body image issues.
Yeah.
But the first 10 years of my training was to try to lose weight, to try to be smaller, to try to look better.
Yeah.
And, that was sort of the culmination of that 10 years. And now I've got this image where it took a lot of work to go, that body on stage is that's not an admirable thing to want to maintain long term.
Yeah.
And for a while it was like, I wish I could just look that good all the time.
Yeah.
But it just created unhealthy thoughts and habits about myself.
Yeah. Because you always strive for more.
Yeah, it's almost okay. You do
You're never happy.
You do a 250 kilo deadlift, and you peak for that once in your life, and then 240 means nothing anymore.
Yeah.
230 means nothing anymore.
Yeah,
And
that's so true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally get that. So going into more the mental health side as well, as I've said, I've followed you for a long time, and you are a very inspiring, positive person to listen to. I always say to people, go and listen to Mitchell and follow him because you are very positive. And I think you have a very strong mindset. Have you ever had a time in your life where you have struggled mentally?
Yeah, I mean, this is what I talked about last week, and it's a difficult thing to talk about, and something to be honest with you, it doesn't help me to talk about it. I all else being equal, I would rather not. Okay. But I think in the position I am, it's useful for people to know where I've been. And it's also useful that I think every person you hear talk about mental health, they talk about how it's always a hero story. And it's always that, I used to be like you, and I used to have days where I really struggled, and now I'm so much better. And let me tell you how much better I am.
Yeah.
And in my experience, it's just not the reality with mental health. So there's been a lot of suicidal ideation in my past, and I would love to say that it doesn't exist anymore, but that's just not true.
Yeah.
And some days are really bad, some days are really good. Frankly, you wouldn't know. Yeah, I'd present much the same to you, and usually can get over it pretty quickly. But the mental health side of things for me is substantially more important than the physical health side of things when it comes to like me personally. Yeah. I think it's a really interesting question of how will you die? And I think a lot of people might say, oh, my family has cancer, my family has heart disease. Where myself, for a long time, if you ask me how I would die, I'd say probably on my own volition. And it's, I think the reason that people are so interested by a lot of things that I have to say is because I've had to spend a considerable amount of time thinking about, well, what are you here for? What's it all about? Mm-hmm. And the only reason you have to think of that is if you're in a place where you have to think of that.
Yeah.
And so it's sort of a bittersweet thing where I'm very happy that I've thought of that a lot. But it's unfortunate. I wouldn't wish upon anyone being in the place where you have to think about that. So it's been a huge personal battle for me for a very long time, and I'm not the champion who's sitting here telling you that every day is awesome and every day is perfect. And no, winning World's Strongest Man doesn't change that, and winning the Arnold doesn't change that. Nothing changes that. It just comes and goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think, more generally speaking, if we're talking about advice for people, and this is why I'm really careful to talk about mental health, because without telling you my whole story, it's difficult to come out and say the first evaluation if you have bad mental health should be, should you have bad mental health? So someone who's living in their parents' basement, who doesn't have a job, who's figuring out what they're going to do, struggling with their mental health, that's you telling yourself that you're not being who you want to be.
Yeah.
And so just go be who you want to be.
Yeah.
Go be something better. Go do something. Go accomplish things. But on the flip side, you could accomplish a lot. You could be on top of the world. Say, my last 12 months. On the surface, most people go, that is the most incredible 12 months. You must be over the moon. I won the Arnold. I won Worlds. I'm getting married. We're pregnant, which I found out like a couple of days ago.
Oh!
Yeah.
Congratulations.
And I would love to tell you that like that solves everything.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't.
No.
It just doesn't. And I think it's valuable to say, I have shit days.
Yep.
I have great days. I have bad days. But mostly you just got to get on with it.
I know. I totally agree. Like, obviously we spoke earlier, and I've been in a place where I've not wanted to be here anymore. And when you've got bad days, you still feel that same person sometimes. It doesn't go away, as you said. Like, I think you learn how to cope with it and get yourself out of that mindset and get yourself feeling positive. And I think as you work toward goals and have your purpose, like you said, like when you have something, it's easier to kind of come out of that mindset when you're in it, but it doesn't stop it from reoccurring.
Yeah,
it always comes back. I believe it's a lot to do with energy. When you're tired, when you're maybe in an environment that's you're not comfortable in, and things like that, it can reoccur then. So I think you've got to be very aware of who you spend your time with, who you give your energy to. I'm all about that. But yeah, I agree that people shouldn't be saying, "Oh, I used to be like that, and I'm all better now." Well, because that's not true. Like no matter what, you will have a down day, and you're better just to say and be normal. Like, we all have down days.
I was talking with a guy who's working on some really interesting software to help veterans and help with mental health. And one of the biggest indicators that a veteran's going to commit suicide is if they start taking action to give other people advice how to get better like them.
Okay.
And that's exactly it.
Yeah.
Like, these people who want to go out there and give advice, like, 100%. Like, I think it should be out there. It should be destigmatized. But I think a lot of people still don't feel the confidence to say, like, no, I'm not better.
Yeah.
I don't think there is a better. And to be frank, like I just said, I think mental health issues, it might be a big weakness that you'd rather not have, but it's also a pretty powerful strength. Yeah. If you actually use that and you actually go, okay, do you know what? Maybe someone watched this. You're lucky enough that you've never had to decide that you'd like to be here. It's never crossed your mind. What else is there? But I've had to make the choice. Yeah. Like, okay, you want to be here today.
Yeah.
And okay, there's nothing more powerful than just saying, okay, I want to be alive now.
Yeah.
And really, for a long time, it was like, I was just hoping to get better. I was hoping, okay, this is the last time I'm ever going to feel something negative. This is the last time that I'm going to go through a down period, and okay, I'm better. And then you'd almost feel like disappointed in yourself, and it snowballs itself where, I'm back, I'm not better. Fuck, okay, well, and then if you just take that away and you're equally as accepting when it leaves as when it comes, okay, it's come and it's going to go and it's going to come back again.
Yeah.
It just smooths the waves a little bit for me.
Definitely.
But just to talk stigma for a minute, I think people are misguided in my experience when they talk about stigma relating to it, because I've never thought that, okay, telling you that I've had mental health problems in the past and continue to struggle, or there's other people in the room who I've never met before, I actually could care less.
Yeah.
You know, if you judge someone for that, then okay, that's sort of on you and whatever. I find it more, if you tell someone close to you that you're struggling in that way, it is, in my experience, next to impossible for that person not to then start taking some level of personal responsibility for you feeling that way.
Yep.
And that's not how it works.
Yep.
It's not, you don't dictate how I feel about me.
Yep.
And maybe things that you say can influence it. But if you say something that really upsets me, or you tell me something bad about my character, you're responsible for being a jerk, but you're not responsible for, okay, now I feel this way about myself, and now I'm
100%.
thinking about this. And no, that's my responsibility. That's my problem.
I agree.
And like, we can work on that together, but it's not the cause and effect.
100%.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree. You have to be responsible for yourself. And I told you about my coach, Paul Mort, who I always mention because I love him. He always says, you're saying about the advice thing, never give advice, but only ask better questions. So somebody that's struggling, you can discuss maybe similar experiences, but don't give advice, ask them better questions. Let them come to their own conclusion. It comes back to that, them then taking responsibility, which is far more powerful than somebody telling you this is what you should do. And that is what he says, and that's what got me to where I am now. It wasn't what he told me, it's what he asked me.
Yeah.
How do you want to feel? What do you want to do?
Yeah.
It was just questions. That's all he did, was ask me questions. He never said, you should do this, you should do that. And he'd been through all of what I'd been through. But he never once told me what to do. He just asked me better questions. And it was then so much more powerful because I did it.
Yeah.
Yes, he helped me. He gave me the tools. He supported me. I did it. And that, I think, is when you realize that, like you said, when the dark days do come, it's going to be okay. Because you know you've already done that work. You know you're going to be okay. So when you do have those days, I'm not going to go into it, but do you have triggers, or does it just come, or do you find that there's something sometimes that does maybe trigger you off?
Just when things aren't going the way I hope with people I really care about.
Okay.
Do you know, like after the Arnold, I said, they asked what it meant to me to win. I said, well, it doesn't mean much, but a stepping stone to the next thing, which for people who know me, who have listened to me, who understand me, they understand that that's not a statement downplaying how important it is.
Yeah.
But more in the sense that everything is a stepping stone.
Yeah.
Literally everything. I just don't see an end point of anything until you die. I got a lot of pushback from that from strangers. That doesn't bother me. Like, the online stuff doesn't bother me. That doesn't get to me the same. It's more if someone very close to me, we have a problem. And it's something that I can't let go because I need you in my life. And that's the stuff that then that will start to spiral. And I keep a very close circle of people who are actually close to me.
Yeah.
I'm not, as world's strongest man, I could claim thousands of friends.
Yeah.
But I genuinely think I've got 4 or 5 people who I'd call good friends, actual good friends. And so then if one of those staple people, if that's not going how I'd like, if we have an argument, if they say something out of turn that they shouldn't, then that'll start to spiral things.
Yeah, I'm the same. Like, things that people say to me don't, like you said, it's our responsibility. It's us to decide if it bothers us or not. But if it's something that somebody I care about thinks, I want them to be happy as well. I do care what they think.
Yep.
So what would you say, obviously we're not going to be giving advice as we just said, but what tools and techniques have you used to feel better? What have you put in place to make sure that you got away from that not completely, as we said, but what tools do you have that you could maybe offer somebody that is going to help them move forward? What could they do? What could they start with even?
I like the mindset of it's going to come and it's going to go.
Yeah.
So even in the good days, recognize that these will not last forever.
Okay.
And these are the waves of life, and it's okay.
Yeah.
And when bad days come, just accept that they're there and accept that they will go, but also accept that they will come back. I think there's too much focus, like I said, on people like I'm better or I'm not better. It does not work that way. It's not a black and white thing. It's not a HbA1c score where you either have diabetes or you don't. It's like, no, even if you're better for 10 years, maybe something really bad happens and you go back into something that you'd rather not. For me, I don't know of any situation where not going out about your day would make you better. And so, okay, if I was having a bad day today and I woke up, still got to do this podcast.
Yeah.
Okay. You got to get on with it. Yeah, I mean, genuinely speaking, I don't think anything has been more useful for me than the gym and sex. Those are like the two things that'll make it endorphins, whatever it is, that just sort of solves the issue temporarily. It doesn't solve the issue because it's going to go and come back. But for me, those are the two things that have helped me.
Makes you feel better.
Yeah.
You heard it here, guys. Gym and sex. Get it done.
Separate.
I love it. Separate. Okay. Okay, so I do want to speak about Strongman. Actually, I, again, have listened to all your stuff. And you had a YouTube and you spoke about how before, because you have a gym, do you have your own gym or a clinic?
A clinic, yeah.
A clinic.
Yeah.
And you said that you had all this stuff that you knew you could open your clinic, and you just been like collecting all your gym stuff. I'm sure you said that on one of your YouTubes. You had so much barbells and things that you knew that you could just open a gym or.
Yeah. I still do.
Yeah.
I could definitely open a Strongman gym. I have all the equipment. It's just time, energy.
Is that something you would want to do?
Yeah, I would love that. I'd love to create a community. But, with how the last 12 months has gone, I think that sort of has to change.
Okay.
I think if I put a lot of time and energy into a physical space, I'd be selling short the impact that I could make on a national or an international scale.
Okay.
And so maybe, and just personally, I don't get as much joy out of helping someone deeply as I do helping a lot of people in a shallow sense. Like I said, I'd like to change as many lives by 1 to 2 degrees as possible. 12 months ago, that would have been the 100 people who come to my gym. And now that's just not enough. There's just a responsibility to do more. So I have all the kit. I do. I have all the stuff to open a gym. That gym is just now going to exist in the basement of my new house. And I'm just going to use it. But yeah, it's certainly something that I have. I would love the capacity to do. Whether I have the capacity moving forward or not, I'm not sure.
I think you could do it.
It's just time and energy, you know?
I know.
Just time and energy.
The reason I like that story is because I was the same. I just started collecting things. And then when I started working with Paul and I started to feel better, I just decided that I didn't want anyone to feel like I felt. So what could I do in my community? And the one thing that stood out was there wasn't a community within a gym setting, in my opinion, in my town. So I decided, well, there's only one thing to do. I'm going to ask Paul if he thinks it's a good idea. And I did. And he says, well, do you think it's a good idea? So he asked me another question and I said yes. And 3 weeks later, I was open.
Wow.
But that's why I liked that story, was because you says, I've been collecting this stuff in the thoughts of opening my own gym. And I was like, that's what I did. I collected my stuff. And when I was ready, I did it. And I just went for it.
At my house, I have 2 yokes. I've got Atlas stones from 30 kilos to 220 kilos. I've got 3 logs. I've got 2 monster dumbbells. I've got 20 barbells, a couple thousand pounds worth of plates. Yeah, like I could. I would just need a space.
Yeah.
The most likely thing, if I do open a gym, would be that the clinic turns into a Strongman. That's also a clinic. Yeah.
So let's talk World's Strongest Man.
Okay.
So you kind of let's talk about your journey in Strongman then, because you moved to Australia.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you started your journey, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you kind of stumbled into it because you were powerlifting?
Well,
Tell me a bit of the story on how you got into Strongman. I know it was in Australia.
So
tell me a bit about that.
I did my undergraduate degree in human kinetics in Guelph. I played American football. Guelph is a city in Canada. I played football in college, and I graduated human kinetics, which is kinesiology, same. I thought I wanted to do strength and conditioning, so I worked with a pro basketball team. I got a dream job, really. Head strength and conditioning coach for a pro basketball team. We toured around. We were in different stadiums and whatnot. And I sort of came to the conclusion that wasn't it for me. There wasn't enough of an impact there. And I would hope to do more with my life in terms of helping people on a more substantial level. Once I made that decision, I thought I'd like to go into the health space. I've got multiple family members who have different health issues, and I can't relate to people who haven't exercised before because I've always played different sports. Mm-hmm. The only way I thought I'd be able to relate to people is if I pushed myself in the same way. Okay, I might have always had an aerobic base, but what's it feel like to run a marathon? What's it feel like to just push yourself as far as you could? So I ran 3 marathons in Canada before I moved to Australia. I moved to Australia and I'd had enough of running, and I felt as though I was close to what I was going to be capable of. I then just found a gym that I really enjoyed, which was a gym in an industrial park. Guys there did powerlifting, 6 months of powerlifting, won the national championship. Other guys did strongman. So just before nationals, I did a Arnold Australia qualifier. I won that show. Arnold Australia's got cancelled, but it was just sort of the next thing, just happenstance. So I had that one. I did another state qualifier. I won 2 state championships. COVID was all in and amongst that. Off the back of that, pulled a big deadlift, 475 kilos, got invited to World's Strongest Man off the back of that. And if I didn't get invited to World's Strongest Man, I probably would have quit and moved on to the next thing.
And you came 8th that year?
8th.
8th, yeah.
Yeah.
But that was not a long strongman career to have, to go straight into World's Strongest Man.
No,
at all.
I'm probably at 4 years now.
So, which is crazy because I'm 3.5 years. So that is.
You're gonna have a
why am I not World's Strongest Woman yet? I better up my game, Mitchell, to catch you up. So when you got that invite to Worlds, what did you think? Because I remember my first year at Scotland's, I came 4th. And obviously top 3 get to Britain's, and 3rd dropped out. So I got the invite 2 weeks before. Mm-hmm. And I remember being like, I think I did a Tinny talk actually, without a Tinny. That's how emotional I was.
Right.
And I was like, I can't go to this. I don't belong there. Like, did you have a bit of impostor syndrome, as I would say? Or did you just think, oh, cool, let's go?
Yeah, mostly, oh, cool, let's go.
I love that.
I didn't.
Not overthink it.
No. It's really strange with strongman. With every other sport I have had the nerves and I have been anxious about competing, and I have thought, like, what will other people think of me? And it just doesn't exist in strongman.
Okay.
Do you know, I think because I'm much more at peace of what I'm doing it for, that if I went to Worlds and came 30th or came 1st, it sort of doesn't matter so long as I'm along that personal journey of becoming the strongest version of myself. Mm-hmm. It's sort of become a lot more than just, can I relate to people? Like, I think, okay, people understand that I understand what it's like to lift heavy now, but it's back to objective physical improvement. It's back to how far can you push yourself?
Yeah.
And I was done with marathons when I thought I couldn't get better. I'll probably be done with strongman when I feel like I can't get better, but I feel like I'm a long way off not being able to get better.
Oh, I think so.
If anyone 4 years in, take what I've accomplished out of it. If you're 4 years into something and you're saying this is as good as I'll ever be, any athlete that any of us would advise, you go, that's absolute nonsense.
Yeah.
So I think I have a long way to go. But no imposter syndrome. I was just happy to be there. I was like a kid in a candy store, really. There's a great quote. They put the camera on me in the athlete's tent before an event. I'm just sort of hanging out, waiting just before I'm about to go out. I think it was Nev. He says, "How are you so calm?" And I said, "We're lifting weights for money. How much better does it get?" And That's
so
sort of the
true.
attitude. But I think for me, genuinely, everything has happened so fast. I emotionally process things really slow.
Yeah.
If I had someone close to me die, I'd be fine tomorrow. I'd be a disaster in 2 months.
Yeah.
And so it's sort of, I haven't had the ability to process, what would it be like to be at World's Strongest Man? Like, what's the gravity of that? What would it be like to win the honor? What would it be like to win World's Strongest Man?
Yeah.
I thought for the first time, what would it be like to win World's Strongest Man on my drive down to Myrtle Beach this year? Just thought, that would be crazy. Yeah.
You did?
Logically, I could tell you, here's where I think I'll place in the events. I have a chance to win, et cetera, et cetera. But logic and emotion are highly disassociated in terms of timeline for me, where I can logically get somewhere very, very quickly.
Yeah.
Emotionally, it's a slower process, and I think that's worked to my advantage.
Yeah.
And you sort of ignorance is bliss type of thing.
Oh,
And
I get you. I just want to say, Mitchell, I feel like we're almost the same person. Everything you're saying, I'm like, that's how I feel. Like, I emotionally don't take things in straight away.
Yeah.
Like, it takes me a minute. But I think that's why you can be successful, because it's like ignorance is bliss, because you're like, okay, I'm going to do this, and then that's it.
Yeah.
Like, I think with it going to the Britons, that I definitely had imposter syndrome then, but I was just finished my first Scotland, so I probably was very tired. But other things like opening my gym, starting my podcast, like, to me, that I don't overthink it, where I don't ever see something as impossible, like, until I start thinking about it, where I'm like, even on the way here, I was like, I hope it's the real Mitchell Hooper that's messaging me, and I'm not being catfished, because I would be really sad. And then obviously seeing you, I was like, okay, we're fine. But until I actually get to the time, I never ever think I can't do something. And I think that has served me quite well. Would you agree that that's a bit similar for you then?
Yeah, I think so. And I think anyone with imposter syndrome just needs to think you're only an imposter if you're trying to be someone else. And if you put it in the context of what are you actually trying to accomplish, back to that, if I'm just trying to accomplish being the strongest version of myself, what imposter syndrome could I have? It just doesn't even compute.
Yeah.
Like if that puts me in first or fourth or whatever, well, I'm still striving for the same thing. If that puts you in dead last by a mile, you're not an imposter of trying to be the best version of yourself. It's still what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
But if you go and say, I need to fit in, I need to win, I need to do really well, I need to win an event, then you can be an imposter if you don't do that.
Yeah.
So I think taking that pressure off yourself in any context is really valuable. You know, it's a business. Okay, well, I hope to help people support their family. I hope to make a positive impact in the community. And I hope the economic reality in a free market is that the business makes money because it provides more value to people than they're paying. And if that's the goal, then it doesn't matter what old mate next door is doing.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. Right, I have a few questions that a few of my athletes would like to ask you.
Oh, wow.
If
Okay.
that's okay.
Lovely. Yeah.
So the first question actually is from my son, Jaden. He said, can you please ask Mitchell Hooper how old I will be when I do a deadlift of 100?
How old is your son?
He's 9.
9. It's really hard when you don't, when you haven't had kids. I'm calibrating what a 9-year-old is.
Well, my 12-year-old, Chloe, she can deadlift 100 already.
Yeah, but women develop faster than men physically.
So, and Jaden is not as committed as Chloe to training. So, but he wants to know, because he wants a rough idea when he thinks he'll be able to lift it.
What can he do now? Put it that way.
60.
Okay.
And that came pretty natural.
I'd say, genuinely, if you actually continue to put in effort at that age, if he can do 60 right now, then I'd say 12 to 18 months.
Oh, I'm going to tell it. It's going to, and if he feels he's challenged from you, he's going to do it now. He's going to train throughout the whole summer, and I will send you a video of when he gets his 100 kilo deadlift.
It's not so much a challenge as it is a responsibility that if you don't do it in the next 12 to 18 months, it's because you're slacking.
Yes. Well,
yeah.
Did you hear that, Jaden? You've heard it from Mitchell Hooper. No slacking. Okay, so you are would you class yourself as a coach?
Less so now.
Do you coach people? Do you?
Yeah,
do you coach people? Yeah.
I used to. I used to coach a good chunk of people, and that's one thing that's been really sad about the last couple of months. that I've had to give that up because I
Okay.
just don't have the time to give them the attention that
course.
they deserve. I do group coaching, so I'll take people through a certain period of time where we meet up every week, go through a slideshow, education on certain topics depending on what the group is, and hopefully more of a teach them how to fish model.
Yeah.
But that way I can impact more people. I'm not directly responsible for each of their individual circumstances, and I can still help them in a way.
As a coach, when you were coaching then, and your group coaching, what is your favorite part of coaching?
The community, like 100% the community. So I did online stuff, and we had a group in Slack, which is just communication software. They would have their own private channels, but then we'd have different group channels. So we would have the group of the whole team. We'd have the group for the strongman, a group for the powerlifters, a group for, I had a bunch of military guys, and I don't know some stuff that goes on in the military, so I'd chuck them in a group. And just being able to see even still, the number of lasting connections that people make because you connect them and they feel a part of something. I think that's really what a lot of people are striving for, is just to be a part of something bigger. And if you can help to create that community, it's one of the most meaningful things that you can do, I think.
Yeah.
And so I think one of the things I'm most proud of with the coaching is being able to take people from across the world, put them all in the same space. And I don't know many online coaches who do that.
Yeah.
I think mostly they'll call themselves team whatever, but there's no team because you don't know anyone else on the team.
Yep.
And just word of coaching business advice for people. My 6-month retention was over 95% because they felt a part of something bigger. And if you can do that, it's incredible, because then you've coached someone, say you've coached someone for 2-3 years, they know your answer to things. So then people will start posting in the community channel. Then they're doing your work for you. They build relationships. And then we would do things like, I'd give money away and we'd have a poker night and just all hop on virtual poker, Zoom on one screen, poker on the other, and do little things like that. So for me, that was far and away my favorite part.
That is my favorite part. And I do the same as you. I am an online coach as well, and I'm always putting things together. So I actually had a festival-themed party once and got a bus to pick us all up and took them to somewhere where they didn't even know where we're going, and just had everything kitted out like a massive festival and had a huge party. And everyone was best friends. I mean, I think my 2 friends that are with us today, you guys didn't know each other before the gym.
Yeah.
Now that, created a really strong bond within the gym. And that is, when I have my days that I don't want to go to work and I don't want to train, and the bad days, when I walk into that gym and see the new friendships built like that, because I'm just like, right, this is why you have the bad days, is so you could create this.
Yeah.
And I love it.
Yeah.
Fist bump that, Mitchell. Making me emotional, Mitchell. Right. What does Mitchell Hooper do to relax? Because you seem so full of energy all the time. That's the question that somebody wanted to ask. What do you do to relax?
I don't.
Love me either.
Yeah. Yeah, I just don't.
Why would you want to?
I'd love to. In fact, my ideal vacation, if you asked me 2 months ago, or 2 years ago, sorry, it would have been, I want to see this place, I want to go to this place and this place. Now, my ideal vacation, I just love to sit in a dark room for 2 weeks and just sleep and do nothing. But I'm not a religious person. I'm not a spiritual person. I don't believe in reincarnation. I think after you die is the same thing as before you were born. Meaning that whatever day you're here, awake and alive, you'd best make as many positive impacts as you can on people. Because in the end, that's all you've got. And I don't have a lot of energy day to day. To be honest with you, I might present that way, whether it's on camera or in my training or whatever. But if you saw me walk into the gym most days, and like my videographer knows this, it's most days, it's early afternoon is the time that I have to train. That's usually when I'd prefer to be napping, and I'm like, I'm trying to keep my eyes open, and it's just like, okay, time to get on with it. And then once you get into it, it's a little bit better. But I wouldn't classify myself as a high energy person. I'd classify myself as a high ambition person. And if you have high ambition, you have no choice but to have the energy to fulfill those ambitions.
I love that.
I wish I had more time to relax, is the answer.
Yeah. What advice would you give up-and-coming athletes? So I have a lot of the people that I train are very new because my gym's new. And that was one thing that one bit of advice would you give them? Because they do get themselves in a bit of a state sometimes, training and failing and things. So what one bit of advice would you give a new up-and-coming athlete?
I would give the same advice to any of the pro strongmen as well. Just be very clear what you're doing it for, and that's going to sort out most things for you.
Yep.
If you're in it to make connections with people and have friends, then missing a PR doesn't matter as much. If you're in it to become stronger, if you're in it to feel a sense of community, if you're in it to feel a sense of self-worth, if you're in it to provide a living for your family, whatever it is, if you're very clear about that, then you can put your excitement and disappointment in context.
Yeah.
And for me, the goal of impacting as many people 1 to 2 degrees as possible, that's much easier after winning World's Strongest Man. But winning World's Strongest Man is not a necessity to achieve that goal.
Yeah.
There's many people who impact a lot more people than I do who have won absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
And that's why I go, my goal is not directly related to winning.
Yeah.
My goal is impacting people, and winning helps. Then winning and PRs, it doesn't become everything. And for the vast majority of people, you're not going to be a world champion, and that's why it's so special to be a world champion. Mm-hmm. And don't try to be one if you're not genetically capable. Keep the context of what are you in it for? What do you hope to accomplish? What are you capable of? And if you can sort those things out, then you're going to be much better off. And our new Mama Hooper has just
I know, congratulations. Yeah, I'm so happy for you guys. I have one final question.
One sec, let's get her over here.
Yeah, come over. Oh, the t-shirt. We ordered those. They didn't come in time. We were all going to come in matching.
Oh, shame. Did you order them?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
But it's okay. Well, they'll be here for next time. Are they on sale tonight?
I don't have them here with me. They've all been shipped out. I do have
We were late.
Shame.
All
right, come here. If you were to give advice to an up and coming strongman based on what you've seen me go through, what would your advice be?
I think probably being calm and collected, because I find the big thing with you is that you're really relaxed, and a lot of people get really stressed out. Mm-hmm. So probably that, just like enjoy life, have other things going on, try and have fun, and just try not to take life so seriously, and then it all just kind of happens.
That's great advice. Thank you. I love that.
Yeah, and I think you can attest as much as anyone that how I am in podcasts, how I am on YouTube, how I am, none of it's a charade. I don't have the skill to put anything on. I'm actually that calm.
But I actually feel, you can tell when people are not themselves. Like you can tell, and I just feel like you're just you, and that's just how you are. Fun, loving it, and like I know that because I seen you at the Arnold's, and you were like that. You were just so chilled. Everyone else was getting all worked up, and they're all storming about, and I'm in the corner dancing, and you're just like chilling out, helping me in my deadlift suit, like just totally relaxed. And no, I think that you are, and especially now after this podcast, you have definitely reassured me that you are one of the most genuine people.
Oh, wow.
On social media.
Wow.
And I have loved this podcast. I think it's my favourite.
I always laugh. Sometimes I say like a bit too genuine. Like sometimes I wish there was like kind of an off. Like maybe we keep that one as just sorry, all in good fun, right?
Yeah.
No, it's been amazing, and congratulations to you both. Oh, amazing, exciting news for you both. Yeah. Little baby hoopers.
Little tiny moose.
Little tiny moose.
Along the lines of things that maybe shouldn't be so genuine. It was supposed to be a surprise. It was supposed to be announced at our wedding, but I'm too excited. I just can't help but talking about it.
So have you announced it now, or is it? It's out.
Sure,
everyone knows.
It'll get around.
Yeah, it'll get around.
Is this an exclusive almost?
This will probably come out first, maybe. Yeah.
Oh my, William, you better get on this. Oh, exclusive. Well, congratulations, guys, and yeah, I don't think we need to say anything else. I think that was amazing, and I just want to thank you very much for taking your time.
Of course. Because,
it just shows how genuine you are, because you could have easily declined my small local podcast with maybe 100 followers, but you had no issue with it. It wasn't any, can you please do it? It was, yeah, no problem. Mm-hmm. And I was like, cool, and you're going to be in the UK because I want to see you to your face. Yeah. And it was never an issue. And even this morning I was getting really stressed because we did plan for a time, it didn't work out, and you just said to me, like, don't be stressed. And I was like, that's such a nice way to be, because I was like, didn't want to waste your time, you're competing, and I was getting all worked up, and I thought, I don't want you to be annoyed and me affect your day. And you just were like, it's fine, relax. So I really appreciate you being so nice.
For context of everyone else who has a 100-follower podcast, I know Nicola. We met at the Arnold, and that's why it was a yes, because she's someone who's in the community. Please don't. I get so many people asking who I can't, so please don't be offended if you ask and I can't. But I think it's important, however broad the word gets out, I think it's important to have these chats. It's important to sit down and just sort of humanizing the sport is important to me. I'm a normal dude. I eat normal things. I live a normal life for the most part. I just lift heavy weights and that's it. But I think we're all in very similar journeys in that way, whether I'm World's Strongest Man or you're trying to compete in your first novice show. So yeah, more than happy to sit down, and thank you very much for having me.
No, thank you very much, and happy Tinny Talk. We can clink the empty one.